at 15 minutes. Hopefully that won't happen. All right, so Garrett Harding, he will come up on the AP exam, and you have to know him by name. And he came up with this topic called Tragedy of the Commons. And if I make this picture bigger, can anybody interpret just based on the picture, what do you think Tragedy of the Commons? And some of you have read, so which is good because that means you have some.
So the areas that people share and everyone can use.
Good. Everyone can use is key. It's actually an area on Earth that has free resources or is common to all, and accessible resources are available. And why is it a tragedy? Because
people abuse them.
Because people abuse them. They deplete them, they abuse them, they take them for granted. So my Fish Olympics lab, and I'll press pause during this part because that doesn't have to be in the video. Who can give me an example of Tragedy of the Commons today?
The beaches.
Great example. Was that in the book? Okay. The beaches, how? Tell me ways that Garrett's Tragedy of the Commons is expressed. Littering. What else? Bless you.
Thank you. Construction.
Definitely. Overpopulation. What else?
Maybe overfishing.
Overfishing. Totally. To the point where, which is my next slide, you have to create certain solutions in order to stop the problem. I mean, fish, and this is a question on one of my tests. What happened to the fish at Bonefish? What happened to swordfish at being on the menu at Bonefish? I used to love going to Bonefish, and swordfish was part of the menu. Now what's on the menu? Who goes to Bonefish? Nobody?
I went there once.
It's pretty good.
It is good. Now on the menu is what? Who knows? Which everybody says, oh, I love that fish.
Tilapia.
Tilapia.
Oh, I like tilapia.
How's tilapia caught? Farm grown. No more fishing for swordfish, because if they catch it, they're going to charge you $45 to eat it, and you don't pay $45 for a fish at Bonefish. So it's off the menu. So how do we solve this problem? And my picture should guide you. Yes.
Oh, well, just the solution right now is loss competition. Like how many fish
Good.
you have.
So you're going to have specific regulations.
Oh, or you can like catch the fish and let it turn to the water.
Good. Definitely in the fish's case.
They like
So-
make you have to get a big enough size so you don't take babies.
Correct. Certain times of the year, certain size.
Wait, if you'd have to catch the fish and then return to the water, what's the point of fishing in the first place?
Recreation. Yeah, not food, obviously. What else would be a solution to Tragedy of the Commons? Don't just think of the fish situation.
Like it says there, the ownership.
Good.
Could it be
Obviously, we can't give ownership to the ocean, but there is kind of, right? For specific things, not for fishing.
The territory.
Territory can have ownership, and that exists all over the world. Remember back in the days, you would run and claim land and it was yours, and if there was 700 cows and 400 wild horses, that doesn't exist. And basically use at a sustainable rate, which is kind of what you guys were saying, fishing regulations, not fishing at a specific time of the year, so everything can regenerate and not exceed its yield. So final thought on resource depletion. U.S. citizens blank approximately 30 times as much as make. Good. What else?
Money.
Well, make is money. Use. Consume. And here comes the last of the two. Think of what we talked about to be sustainable. Correct. They produce 30 times as much waste. Aren't we so good?
Reusing and recycle.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. In that order, always, because that order is the best order. If you reduce, you're preventing. If you reuse, you're still doing good, but not as good as reducing. And recycling requires massive amounts of energy, so it's the worst of the three, but it's still the best solution over just discarding. And I'll just show you this. Sustainable living Living research suggests that we have no more than 50 years to make changes in our lifestyle to attain. Yes. Yeah, it's pretty scary. Luckily, we're becoming aware and making changes. I honestly believe that to be the fact. 13 years ago when I started teaching this class, I didn't think that. Because you didn't see all these ideas that environmentalists had, they seemed like way unapproachable. Now they're here, they're done. People are graduating and creating new technologies to better the world, and that used to not exist before. Yes?
The 50 years thing, that's like based on like an even, like a pattern from the past. Like,
Correct.
Some sort of like spike happens, like let's say in like, 10 years from now, we have like, I don't know, hydrogen cars or like, or we're developing like a better development of hydrogen
That's a
cars.
perfect, you're right.
That just changes the
Everything.
the amount of years that we have left to like 2
They're going to take into consideration when they come up with these figures, current consumption rate, current waste rate, current population rate, all these things, which can change based on, believe it or not, becoming informed, just by becoming informed.
That's not saying like in 50 years everyone's gonna die. That's saying like, yeah, you should make a change.
Correct.
Yeah.
You have to make a change.
I mean, yeah.
Forget about should, have to. And there's things that are going to be forced on you to change. They're not going to be choices you make. When gas goes up to $6 a gallon, you're going to buy a hybrid car, correct? Even if you're paying $100 more a month, you're going to do the math in your head, and $100 more a month is way less than what you're paying in gas.
But isn't it like not that bad if they like have to like?
Oh, I paused?
No.
No, I didn't. I mean, this is good conversation here, but pollution prevention over cleanup, always. Prevention, I told you this once and I'm going to tell you again, and this part of the video is probably really loud since I was right by the speaker. You always choose, if there's a 5 possible answers of multiple choice and you see prevention as one of them, the answer is prevention. End of story. It's always prevention. Prevention stops or reduces, and pollution will clean and dilute. So it's after the fact. You want to avoid the problem, not deal with it. That make sense?
Fire prevention.
True. But sometimes they happen naturally, right? So this used to be a picture in the back of the book. I wonder if it's in the back of yours. And I finally got our book. It was in that box all along. So I'll be able to reference the units, okay, is what I'm saying. I'm just going to show you, actually the pictures. Let's use the pictures. Biodiversity was the hardest. What are the 4 scientific principles of sustainability? Solar energy. We got biodiversity. What's the bottom one?
Can you go? Okay.
Yep. Good. Chemical recycling. Where's that?
Down to the left.
Nutrient cycling. That's showing you like food chain relationships. And what's the last one? Anybody? Population control. Believe it or not, competition is an essential part to success. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen with our population. It does all the time, though, when you really think about it, right? Kind of. Maybe not to the death, but. So did you guys see? Let me pause. That there was an Amber Alert yesterday. How many of you have your phone set up for that? What has the color of my slides been for this whole entire green? It was subliminal messages. I do that every once in a while. Go green is, and that link will take you to a list of ways to go green. I mean, it's as simple as turn off the lights when you leave the room, turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth. How many of you really do that? Don't lie. How many of you sometimes do that? Never. I know, it's hard to admit, right? Well, now you know that you should try. Because it's really not that easy. I mean, hard. You just turn it off, brush, turn it back on, rinse, and wait till we get to the water chapter. Yeah, so it doesn't require a leap of extreme. You could be as extreme as you want. Nobody will judge you. But any little thing you do will make a difference. Obviously, you don't have to write that because I'm just like preaching here, right? And here are some, and this is pretty easy. So think before you start writing, and if you feel like you have to, then add it. These are our current ways, and we want to shift to a sustainable way. So instead of cleaning up, we're going to do what?
Prevent.
Duh. Instead of waste disposal, we're going to do?
Reuse.
Correct. Prevent.
Is everywhere?
No. Protect species? No.
Environment.
Correct. We're going to protect where they live. Because that is going to be the chain reaction to protecting them. Environmental degradation? Yeah. Restoration. And increasing resource use.
Consumption.
Waste. Next slide. And there's the last one. So these are the three worldviews. And they kind of make sense if you look at the words. Planetary management. You exist, but that's the weakest. Environmental wisdom, think about that. Environment, the word is there, so that's going to be the protector of the world, okay? The person that thinks to protect. Stewardship, think of a steward is a guide, right? They're kind of managing. So planetary, although it sounds like it's the best, it's the worst of the three. Selfish, you're okay, you're the best. All right, and we're done.